Turning overseas to the Ukrainian crisis, there's news of a possible ceasefire between the government and separatist forces in the Luhansk region. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe said the two sides agreed in principle to the deal, which would go into effect on Friday. Meanwhile, fighting reportedly continues in the Donetsk region. More than 4,300 people have died since the conflict erupted earlier this year. Walter Zaryckyj is the executive director of the Center for U.S.-Ukraine Relations, and he's back here at Rise America. Good to see you, Walter.
It's always good to see you.
Let's start with what's happening in terms of the government right now. New government has been formed. The Ukraine Parliament has approved this new government. How consequential in this is this?
There has been an enormous breakthrough because as a result of its pull to the West, it's done. The Ukrainian government has done something that it wouldn't have in the past, and it's actually included foreigners. It's made them Ukrainian citizens. 3 of them, in fact, have been made not only citizens, but ministers. A Lithuanian has taken on the position of Minister of the Economy, Abramkauskas. Then Natalie Uresko, a personal friend from Chicago, incidentally, has become Minister of Finance. And Kvitashvili, Alexander, out of Georgia, has become Minister of Health. It's serious progress, and it's a serious signal to the West that things are changing.
Of course, the key with this government is that the rebels recognize the sovereignty of this government, perhaps Russia recognizing it. There's really some diplomacy that's got to happen here.
Russia is beginning to, I don't know what's happening. It may be that Putin's made a different deal with somebody, maybe with the Turks, but he pulled out of South Stream, and that's unbelievable. 2 days ago, he decided that he's not going to be building a pipeline to bypass Ukraine that he had put a lot of money into. I think the sanctions are beginning to hurt. I think oil prices are beginning to hurt. I think all of that, Debbie, is what we've been watching.
You talked about that a little bit at the top of the show with these falling oil prices and how Russia really comes in on the short end of that stick.
Yes, it does.
Let's turn and talk about the ceasefire. There's this new deal that has been established, but there was a ceasefire that was agreed upon back in September.
Right.
And it's been violated. There's a medical term we use called TNTC, too numerous to count.
Right.
So many times. What will it take for those who are taking up arms? I don't want to blame either side, but I think probably the pro-Russian rebels are the biggest culprits to actually lay down their arms and turn to diplomacy.
The troubling thing is that while saying that Putin has pulled back on certain things, when it came to arming, he has actually, in the last 2 weeks, been, the arms that have been flowing into Ukraine are beyond belief. I think NATO has actually responded to it and has actually established 4 trust funds for the Ukrainian military and things like cyber warfare, logistics, command and control, precisely because it's finding what he's doing troubling. So this ceasefire within a ceasefire, play within a play, I'm not sure where it's going. But there's a part of it, some people are saying that it may very well be that he's put enough to keep that territory, but he may not move further. If that's the case, then he's ready for a ceasefire. He's the one that, it's up to Putin for the ceasefire to hold. It's not even for the separatists. It's up to Putin.
Yeah, if he says the word, then perhaps that would happen. I'm jump around a little bit because I want to get as much from you as I can while I have you. Let's talk about Ukraine's economy. It was on the, it was on the verge of collapse when the rebellion started.
Right.
So where are they now? Now that money from the IMF, from the U.S., from the EU has kicked in.
Ironically, as a result of having lost control of Crimea and that small sliver of the Donbass area, because everybody keeps thinking that it's the 2 provinces fully have gone. No, the more prosperous parts, have actually stayed in Ukrainian hands. The Russians have ended up getting the lousiest parts of the real estate, and they've got to pay for it. The Ukrainians apparently have pulled from paying for it. And so in some ways, their economy, as my friend Alex Malton out at Rutgers has put it, the economy has got maybe in better shape at this point because it doesn't have to pay for the Rust Belt, and for a used up vacation spot. And that's not to say that Ukraine doesn't want it back. But the fact is, man, that it may have a very good, it stands a good chance because the reforms are in. It doesn't have to pay for these rust belts at this point. So generally, I think the economy has a chance of improving. We'll see.
Well, that's encouraging to hear. Walter Zaryckyj, as always, a great pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, ma'am.
And you're watching Arise America.